It was supposed to be a simple day. Big Shaq walking into a car dealership, ready to make a purchase. He had his mind set on something flashy, something that would turn heads. But what started as an exciting moment quickly spiraled into something no one saw coming. The atmosphere in the dealership was buzzing, filled with the usual sounds of salespeople pitching deals, customers running their hands over polished hoods, and the occasional beep of a car alarm. Shaq, known for his viral persona and over-the-top energy, strolled in confidently, rocking his signature jacket and shades. He wasn't just window shopping. He was serious about buying. His eyes locked onto a sleek, jet black sports car, parked near the showroom floor. This was it. This was the one. The moment he saw it, he knew he had to have it, but from the second he stepped inside, something fell off. The salesman who first greeted him had a forced smile, like he wasn't really thrilled to see him there. Shaq didn't think too much of it. Maybe the guy was just having a rough day. So he kept it cool, cracking a joke to lighten the mood. "Yo, big man needs a big ride, innit?" He grinned, expecting a laugh. But instead of a friendly response, the salesman glanced over his shoulder, almost as if he was checking with someone before responding. Then came the dealership manager, a tall, sharp-dressed man with slicked back hair, his eyes scanning Shaq like he didn't belong. His tone was cold, professional, but with an edge of something else, something that felt personal. "Can I help you with something?" he asked, his words slow and deliberate. Shaq, still in good spirits, nodded toward the car he had his eyes on. "Yeah, that one right there." "How much?" The manager's lips curled into a tight smile. "That car." "Oh, that's not for you." For a second, Shaq thought he misheard. Not for him. What was that supposed to mean? "Bruv, what you mean? I got cash. I can buy it right now." He patted his pocket, emphasizing his point. The manager folded his arms, glancing at the salesman beside him. There was a silent exchange before he looked back at Shaq. "We reserve our high-end models for a certain clientele," he said, his tone sharp. "Perhaps you'd be interested in something more affordable." Shaq's jaw tightened. He wasn't just some random guy walking in off the street. He had the money. He had the means. So why was he being treated like this? His mind raced. But before he could respond, things escalated fast. A few more words were exchanged. Nothing aggressive, nothing threatening. But then, out of nowhere, the manager took a step forward, his face twisting in irritation. And before anyone could react, he shoved Shaq back. Not hard, but enough to make it clear. He wanted him out. Shaq stumbled slightly, catching himself before fully losing balance. His heart pounded, and for the first time, the reality of the situation hit him. They didn't want him there. They didn't respect him. And they weren't even trying to hide it. A few customers in the showroom turned their heads, sensing the tension in the air. The salesman next to the manager took a nervous step back, as if even he thought this was going too far. Shaq squared his shoulders, his expression unreadable. He could have caused a scene right then and there. He could have shouted, demanded respect, made it clear that no one pushes Big Shaq around. But he didn't. Instead, he took a deep breath, adjusting his jacket. "Aight," he said, his voice calm, but with an edge of something deeper. He turned on his heel and headed for the door. As he walked out, the manager smirked, shaking his head. "Thought so," he muttered under his breath. But what the manager didn't know, what no one in that dealership realized, was that Shaq wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Because Big Shaq had a plan. And what happened next? Well, that's the part no one saw coming. Shaq walked out of the dealership, his mind racing. The cold air hit his face, but it did nothing to cool the fire burning inside him. He had been disrespected before. But this was something else. The way the manager had looked at him. The way he spoke like Shaq wasn't good enough to buy that car. Like he didn't belong there. It wasn't just about the car anymore. It was about principle. He stood in the parking lot for a moment, hands in his pockets, staring back at the showroom window. The manager was still inside, laughing with a couple of salesmen, acting like nothing had happened. Shaq clenched his jaw. He could have stormed back in, made a scene, demanded to speak to someone higher up, but no, that wasn't his style. He had something better in mind. Pulling out his phone, he made a quick call. "Yo, listen, I need a favor." A few hours later, Shaq was sitting in a sleek, black car, one almost identical to the one he was denied. Only this time, he wasn't in some dealership begging to be taken seriously. He was behind the wheel, cruising down the street with a plan forming in his head. See, Shaq wasn't just going to get revenge. He was going to make a statement. The manager thought he could look down on him, treat him like he wasn't worthy. Fine. Let's see what he had to say when Shaq pulled up in something even better. But it wasn't just about showing off. The deeper Shaq thought about it, the more he realized this wasn't just his fight. How many others had walked into that dealership, excited to buy their dream car, only to be treated the same way? How many had been turned away, not because they couldn't afford it, but because someone decided they didn't look the part? Shaq wasn't about to let that slide. The next morning, he parked right outside the dealership, not across the street, not a few spots down, right at the entrance, where no one could ignore him. The car gleamed under the sunlight, looking even more expensive than the one in the showroom. Heads turned as customers and employees noticed him. A few salespeople whispered among themselves, pointing. They remembered him. And it didn't take long before the manager stepped outside, his expression unreadable. "Oh," he said, folding his arms. "You again." Shaq smirked. "Yeah, me again." The manager's eyes flickered to the car. He was trying to act unimpressed, but Shaq could see right through it. "Nice ride." The manager muttered. "Yeah?" Shaq leaned against him, it casually. "Funny thing, walked into another dealership yesterday. They treated me with respect. Didn't push me out the door. Guess what happened?" He patted the hood. "They got a sale." The manager's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Shaq wasn't done. He pulled out his phone and with a few taps, opened a live stream. Within seconds, thousands of people were watching. "Listen up, people," he said, turning the camera towards the dealership. "Y'all remember what happened yesterday, yeah? I came in, ready to buy, and they kicked me out, said the car wasn't for me. Well, guess what? I got something better. And I ain't the only one who's been treated like this." As he spoke, comments flooded in. People shared their own experiences. Others called out the dealership, and some even tagged the brand's official accounts. The buzz grew fast, spreading across social media like wildfire. Inside the dealership, tension filled the air. The salespeople nervously watched through the glass windows, whispering among themselves. The manager's face paled as he checked his phone, notifications blowing up with angry messages. Shaq saw it. He knew exactly what was happening, and he didn't need to say anything else. He had already won. Then just when he thought the moment couldn't get any better, something unexpected happened. A man in a sharp suit stepped out of a luxury car parked nearby. He looked important, the type of guy who called the shots, the regional director. The manager's face dropped the moment he saw him. He scrambled to speak, but the director raised a hand, silencing him. Then he turned to Shaq, offering a polite nod. "Mr. Shaq, I believe there's been a misunderstanding," he said. his voice professional but firm. Shaq crossed his arms, waiting. The director glanced at the manager before speaking again. "This is not how we do business, and I assure you, it won't happen again." The manager swallowed hard, looking like he wanted to disappear. Shaq let the moment sink in before finally responding. "Good to hear. But see, the problem ain't just me. It's how y'all treat people. That needs to change." The director nodded. "And it will." Satisfied, Shaq pushed himself off his car. "Aight then." He gave one last look at the manager, who now looked more nervous than ever. Before walking away, as he drove off, he checked his phone again. The story was everywhere. People were talking. And for the first time in a long time, Shaq didn't just feel like he won. He felt like he made a difference. And that was worth more than any car. As Shaq drove away, the adrenaline was still pumping through his veins. He had made his point, but something in him told him this wasn't over just yet. Social media was on fire. The video was being shared at an insane speed, and comments kept pouring in. People were outraged at the dealership's behavior. Some called for a boycott. Others shared their own experiences of being mistreated at luxury dealerships. The story had gone bigger than he expected. Then his phone buzzed. A new message. It was from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Call me." Shaq narrowed his eyes. He wasn't the type to respond to random numbers, but something told him this was connected to what just happened. Against his better judgment, he hit the call button. A deep voice answered, almost immediately. "Mr. Shaq, I've been watching what's been going on. I think we can help each other." Shaq frowned. "Who's this?" There was a slight pause. Then the voice continued. "Let's just say, I represent a group that doesn't like seeing people treated unfairly. And we happen to be in the car business." Shaq sat up straighter. "Go on." The man explained that he was part of a high-end car company that prided itself on treating every customer with respect, no matter who they were. They had seen what happened at the dealership and wanted to offer Shaq something better. Not just a car, but an opportunity. "What kind of opportunity?" Shaq asked, skeptical. "We want you to be the face of something new," the man said. "A car dealership that welcomes everyone. No bias, no games, just great cars and respect for every customer." Shaq was stunned. He had expected backlash, maybe even more drama. But this was a game changer. A few days later, Shaq was flown out to meet with the company. They showed him their vision, a dealership unlike any other, where service came first and no one was turned away because of how they looked or dressed. They wanted Shaq, not just as a spokesperson, but as a partner. It was an opportunity too big to ignore. Months passed, and the vision became a reality. The new dealership opened in a prime location, and the launch event was packed. People came from all over, eager to support a place that truly valued them. The energy was electric. Cameras flashed. Reporters asked questions. And right in the middle of it all stood Shaq, looking out at the crowd, knowing he had done something that mattered. And just when he thought the day couldn't get any better, a familiar face showed up, the dealership manager. He stood in the crowd, watching, his expression unreadable. Gone was the arrogance, the smugness. Instead, there was something else. Maybe regret, maybe just realization. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. He just nodded once before turning and walking away. Shaq watched him go, then smiled to himself. Life had a funny way of turning things around. What started as an insult, a moment of disrespect, had led to something bigger than he ever imagined. He didn't just get the last laugh. He changed the game, and that was better than any car he could have bought.